The Eagles won their first preseason game, but why did the starters on offense not play, but the defensive starters did? Oh, and just how real is the brewing quarterback number 2 battle now? Plus, some young players who were very impressive between jumping routes, creating sacks, and dare I say, not one but 2 backup linebackers really creating some noise. Finally, some Eagle wide receivers who flashed, Kellen Moore's new-look offense, vanilla but impressive, and a whole bunch more. I'm Thomas Mott. This is The Thomas Mott Show. Now sure, preseason games, they're kind of always a little vanilla, sometimes not the most exciting football on the planet, but the hype around the Eagles' first actual game of 2024 in Baltimore against the Ravens got started very early on Friday with media reports telling us, oh, the Bird starters, they were going to play for at least a series. And of course, when you hear that and get clips of Jalen in his actual uniform, handing off to Saquon in an actual uniform and pregame warmups, I could not wait to see these guys in action for even just a few plays. That was until the game actually started, and it was Kenny Pickett and all the backups minus, of course, Mekhi Becton, who rolled out there the starting offense, and you went, oh, so I guess that was all a little bit of a lie. Now, Nick Sirianni explained afterwards he wasn't lying when he hinted that starters were going to play. It was more, we weren't 100% convinced. Here's what he said.
Just the chance of the weather how it was all day. It feels a little wet when we got out there. Just wanted to have a clean, clean operation. Didn't want to put them on something that I felt like with any of the weather could have been a little messy. I didn't want to give them. I want to give him a clean track. So
now Sirianni, wanting his starters to rest, apparently only made it as far as the offense. As seasoned defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, he gave us nearly the completely starting defense on the opening drive, minus a few players like Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Josh Sweat. And boy, they got gashed on a couple of these early plays with the Baltimore Ravens second stringers. I mean, these plays right here, what is going on? But, of course, panic for only a couple seconds, and then Jalen Carter does Jalen Carter things, a nice bat down. And how about this play by rookie Quinyon Mitchell on third down to stop a drive and almost come up with a crazy interception here? All 3 starting quarterbacks, Quinyon Mitchell, Isaiah Rodgers, Kelee, Ringo, they were really, really good. But Quinyon was very impressive, almost having the interception and then really being quiet the rest of the game because they did not throw his way. He had maybe the best debut of any Eagles rookie we've seen in just a little bit. Oh, and his head coach, he clearly took notice, as mentioned in his post-game presser.
It was a good play there on the near interception. I wanted him to finish that. We're gonna talk about that. That I've seen him finish that. But it was a good breakup on a third down to, stop that drive. I noticed that play. Sometimes with corners, when you don't notice them, it's a good thing, right? And so I didn't notice them quite as much out there. And so maybe that was a good thing. I'll wait till I watch the tape. I got a long bus ride home to be able to watch the offense, defense, and special teams. And to get anytime a defensive back gets a big stop like that on a third down, that's exciting, and that's the stuff that he showed when he was in college.
Now, when it comes to the defense getting gashed a little bit, I'll be honest, I'm not that worried. Like a couple of big plays early on, it's not really a big deal. Come on, it's their first couple of actual snaps together in an actual real game setting. They're going to be just fine. I wouldn't panic just yet. Although I am curious what you guys think. Is there any worry about the Eagles' defense in terms of getting gashed early on? Let me know down below right now. Now, despite having an overall below-average game, I thought Kenny Pickett did have a pretty solid drive at the end of the first quarter that featured a couple of nice runs by Will Shipley and was capped off by this, how about under-center bootleg to find the wide-open rookie running back for a touchdown. Pickett overall, not that special, though. 14 of 22 for less than 90 yards. It doesn't scream first-round draft pick with a bunch of starting experience in the NFL. And honestly, I think we can all agree, Tanner McKee looked a lot more comfortable at times, leading me to truly believe this quarterback 2 battle that's really been hinted at so far during training camp, it's very legit and very real in a very open competition. But to Pickett's credit, he at least admitted after the game that there was some good last night, but plenty of work left to go.
Yeah, I feel great, but it's a process. Whenever you go from a new place, you're learning a new system, it's always a process. It's never going to end. So, just trying to get better every day. And the continuity with the guys is getting there, being 2 weeks into camp. But I credit it to the spring we had. I thought we had a great spring with everyone showing up. So I think we started, a step up from a lot of other places. So, I feel good, but there's, a ton of work still to go.
Now, of course, the receiver who caught Pickett's lone touchdown pass was Will Shipley. I thought he looked very legit, very comfortable, as if he belonged. And that's really kind of all you can ask for from some of your later round rookies. Show up, have a good camp, but then in an actual game setting, make it look like you belong, and Shipley definitely did that. Now, of course, I mentioned Quinyon Mitchell earlier, but I gotta also give credit to Kelee Ringo. He was fantastic last night. Played a lot as your de facto cornerback 3, and he absolutely locked down his side of the football field. And now I won't overreact. I'm not saying he was way better than Isaiah Rodgers, and there's a real competition going on here, because, Rodgers only played a couple of snaps. His first actual game-setting scenario in a very long time due to his suspension, and he did have one target in front of him. Nice pass here by Josh Johnson, but overall, Rodgers continues to win the training camp battle. However, Kelee Ringo keeps doing what Kelee Ringo did Friday night's game. That cornerback 2 battle that we thought was locked up by Rodgers, it might be a little bit less sure than we originally thought. Now, some other big standouts, I think the backup defensive line, most notably Jalyx Hunt, all over the place last night. He was really, really impressive. And Nolan Smith, quiet start. I tweeted about that. He really came alive and even grabbed a sack. Well, again, it's preseason. I do have to say I have mixed feelings about Nolan Smith's Friday night performance. I think overall it was good, but very, very quiet early on. And my hope is that it's not just, you play against third stringers, then you get your sack. It's just that, get your feet underneath you and figure things out. I have very high expectations for Nolan Smith. I really, really hope he comes and lives up to those in 2024. That's why I was a little more impressed with Hunt's night overall, just because he showed his crazy athleticism, and again, he proved that he belonged on the football field. We've been hearing he's flashed at training camp so far, and again, he was all over that field and made me feel very comfortable with the third-round draft pick, at least through one preseason game. Now, when it comes to Tanner McKee, as mentioned earlier, he just seemed way more confident than Kenny Pickett. Again, prove that you belong on the field. Like, he's been there, done that, and despite not having crazy stats, it was still a lot better, or I think overall, than Kenny Pickett. Putting together a 17-play scoring drive to take the lead in the second half, and then a 14-play drive to get Jake Elliott in field goal range to win. Jake, you got to make these. That was very, very impressive. And even after the game, he immediately raved about just how great this offense is, and also mentioned there's plenty to improve on.
The new offense, I think, is awesome. I feel like our guys did a good job with the details inside and out, especially for our first preseason game. Obviously, some kinks to work out. It's what's to be expected with the first preseason game. But I thought we did pretty well for the first time, as far as just getting things moving, getting lined up in the right spot, getting set, motions, getting to our landmarks. I thought we did a decent job.
And speaking of Kellen Moore's new offense, again, it's our first real look. Very vanilla, but just seeing some runs under center, the boot action touchdown, just a lot more grown-up look to an overall offense that was needing a makeover, and we clearly have gotten that. Now, I can't mention big winners or big losers without at least giving the backup linebackers their credit, because Nakobe Dean, under a ton of pressure going into this game, really good last night, and so was Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Dean was flying around, making plays, didn't get burnt in coverage. Thumbs up for that. Likewise, Trotter was a tackling machine, always around the football, multiple tackles in this game, and even registered a sack. And while sure, they're still very much linebacker 2 right now, like it's going to be Zack, Baun, and Devin White, I think that performance at least gives Vic Fangio a little bit of comfort knowing his backup linebackers, they have so far, in one preseason game, again, massive asterisks, answered the call, and I thought were very impressive last night. Now, in terms of disappointing players or losers, if you will, I don't have a long list. Again, there wasn't a lot of bad last night. Just wasn't a lot of great. Anai Smith, pretty average. Didn't show really any of the explosiveness. Had the fumble out of bounds. He's had a rough camp so far. He's got to pick things up. I think the brotherly shove maybe was kind of an L last night. They converted their brotherly shoves, but let's not take the starting offensive line and Jalen Hurts' ability to win that play every single snap for granted. McKee and Pickett really struggled in that category. And obviously, Jake Elliott, bad night. Let's just hope it's just one bad night. Missed extra point and then missing the game winner. You're Jake the Make, though. He'll be fine. Still, though, it's like, come on, we can't be having that this early. Also, by the way, credit to Patrick Johnson, another winner last night. He had a really good evening. And, of course, the strip sack of Emory Jones late in the fourth quarter and recovering his own fumble, setting up the game winner from Jake Elliott. Come on, you got to give credit to where credit is due. A couple other small things I picked on. Johnny Wilson targeted a lot early. Seems to indicate he is legit, kind of the one nice catch. Although Britton Covey, I think he continued to show why he's the leader in the wide receiver 3 clubhouse. Really good punt return as well. His improvement from year 1 to year 2 and now year 2 to year 3, it seems to be in the direction of actually becoming a legit viable receiver, and that's good news for Covey. Mentioned at the beginning, Mekhi Becton, he started at right guard. That kind of indicates he's winning that job. Plus, Tyler Steen played a ton as with the 2s as the backup right guard. Despite seemingly a little bit iffy on that ankle, I don't think he's 100%. Definitely something to keep an eye on, but Becton's winning this job. And credit the Eagles' offensive line. The backup offensive line was fantastic. They had some really solid protection at times. Not perfect, but good protection. And they created a ton of running lanes for Kendall Milton and TDP. They did a very, very, very nice job. Now, despite all of this, there were 7 3-and-outs between between the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles because it's the first preseason game, because it's mainly backups. And so we can't really go drive by drive and dissect this and that. We have to look at the highlights. What stood out, what didn't, and what's going to actually make a difference going forward. What are the coaches themselves going to see and say, hey, that was fantastic, that was not. I think a lot of the young players really impressed me. Kelee, Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, Trotter Jr, Nakobe Dean. These are guys that we were hoping to actually step up. And even though it's one preseason game and they could be awful next week, I thought were very, very impressive. And again, gives the Eagles hope that they have the depth they need to win a championship. You're only as good as your weakest link. If the Eagles have injuries or they got to rotate the starting units around a little bit, especially on defense and the linebacker or secondary, the depth that they have and the depth that it showed last night, to me, is very, very impressive, at least so far. There'll be plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. As you noticed, I'm not in my studio. Back on Wednesday morning in Alaska right now with my dad and grandpa. We're going to go salmon fishing, halibut fishing, little mini vacation before the actual start of the season, but we got the mobile setup, so we're going to do plenty of work here, as you guys already know. Hit the sub button, getting close to 60,000 subs. Got tickets to give away when we get there, and the signed Brian Westbrook jersey as well. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.